So I've been trying to figure out what Jean-Luc Picard, my easiest Halloween costume, was making on his notoriously vaguely depicted vineyard in Star Trek. Hi, I'm Harrison. I'm a certified sommelier, deep space wine anomaly, and your Starfleet Somm. So this is bullshit. See our video here for more on that. Let's toss out this real Chateau Picard and go straight to the source, the bottles they used in the show. Okay, so here we have the actual prop from the Picard series. Now, you'll note that it has Bourgogne on the label. Let's just ignore the French Comte for now, that's a whole other thing. Bourgogne refers to the region of Burgundy in the east of France. Now, the tie-in wine is a Bordeaux, which is notably on the other side of the country from Burgundy. Geography aside, these are two very different styles of wine. Burgundy is a large wine region comprised of the famous Côte d'Or slope, home to the most expensive Pinot Noirs and Chardonnays in the world. Burgundy also technically encompasses regions just to the south, including the more budget-friendly Côte Chalonnaise and the Mâconnais, as well as Beaujolais. In what is a testament to the beautiful illogic and tradition of the French people, Chablis, all the way to the north up here, is also part of Burgundy, despite the fact that it is not contiguous and technically closer to Champagne than the Côte d'Or slope in Burgundy. Pinot Noir reigns supreme, light to medium-bodied with one or two notable exceptions, and generally showing flavors of red berries, forest floor, and mushrooms. Pinot is generally paired best with lighter meals, but can hold up nicely to Wagyu if you know what you're doing. Chardonnays generally see some oak treatment, but nowhere near the butter bombs of Napa and Sonoma. All in all, this is a super food-friendly region, but it will set you back a pretty penny to enjoy on the reg. But fortunately, they don't use currency anymore in Starfleet, so anyone can enjoy a bottle of Chateau Picard if you know the right English-sounding Frenchman.
In faith, I do not love thee with mine eyes, for they in thee 1,000 errors see, but 'tis my heart that loves what they despise, who, in despite of view, are pleased to dote. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?
Now, beyond the differences in grapes, climate, and type of Frenchman, there is a deeper philosophical divide between Bordeaux and Burgundy. What makes a good wine? And which most aligns with what we know about Picard? In Bordeaux, the chateau, that is, the house making the wine, defines quality. In Burgundy, it's the land itself that defines quality. So please, step into the holodeck with me as we travel back to 1855. With the 1855 Exposition universelle, the famous World Fair approaching, Emperor Napoleon III asked the Bordeaux Chamber of Commerce to select the region's best wines. Rather than submit the region to a rigorous and scientific tasting evaluation, the courtier class, effectively Ferengi-esque middlemen in charge of deal-making between the chateau and the distributors of Bordeaux, did the most Ferengi thing possible and submitted a list of the most expensive estates, assuming that high price meant high quality. This list, known famously as the 1855 classification, has remained essentially unchanged for over 170 years, with one very minor and one very famous exception. That most famous exception being the 1973 addition of Philippe de Rothschild's estate to the first growth classification 120 years later. As Philippe himself said, "Premier, je suis. Seconde, je fais. Mouton, je change." It's important to note that Philippe achieved this monumental task through the heavy financial lobbying of the courtier class in addition to the first growth chateau. a strategy truly in the spirit of the original classification, which, you'll remember, was based upon the price of the wines and wealth of the winemakers, and not their objective quality. Now that same year, 1855, something even more momentous was occurring to the east, closer to where Chateau Picard actually was, paramount. Dr. Jules Laval completed the first draft of what would become his Historie et statistique de la Vin et des Grands Vins de la Côte d'Or. This document classified the individual climats of Burgundy, of which there are over 1,200. Now, not to be confused with climates, les climats are basically just smaller plots of land within a greater vineyard or village with a distinctive terroir. In Laval's classification, the climats of Burgundy were divided into a hierarchy that became the basis for not only the region's contemporary Grand and Premier crus, but also the entire French Appellation d'origine contrôlée, or AOC, system. This AOC, not that AOC. This Vulcan-like logical system drew not from the price of the wine, but the history of the region, the soil, the geography, and the quality of the wine itself. All this to say, in Burgundy, the land has the value, and in Bordeaux, the name of the estate has the value. And you see this to ridiculous ends, with villages in Burgundy appending the name of their most prestigious Grand Cru vineyards onto their village name to trick you into thinking all the wine produced there is good. Which, frankly, it isn't. Guess it's Ferengis all the way down. Well, except for you, Domaine de la Romanie Comte. You're definitely a Cardassian. The chateau in Bordeaux, on the other hand, will always hide behind that original classification from a century and a half ago, no matter how their wine may taste today. And this is despite better, more objective rankings being implemented in Bordeaux since then. Most notably, Saint-Emilionn's Grand Cru Classé, which is subject to audit and change every 5 years, but also equally valuable, Cru Bourgeois, which sees independent auditing and verification. This is much more similar to the modern Michelin system, where stars are earned, but not always maintained. A 3-star restaurant, like a Grand Cru Classé A in Saint-Emilion, can be downgraded to a 2-star restaurant, or even a 1-star restaurant. Though, who would want to eat there? Oh, God. Or in Saint-Emilion's case, a Grand Cru Classé B, of which there are currently none. Because who wants to be a B? And if you want to prove that you're not a B, don't forget to like and subscribe. In Bordeaux, you'll often see the estate going with the prefix chateau, whether it was made in an actual chateau or not. Again, the power is in the estate, and each estate is only bottling grapes from land that it controls. In Burgundy, most producers opt for the prefix domaine, a more general term meant to refer broadly to the lands harvested under the estate's supervision, since they're often pulling from many distinct climats across numerous villages that they don't necessarily own. So, what does this all mean for Chateau Picard? Keep following along for more Mid-Earth Somm.
Starfleet Somm.
Starfleet Somm.